Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called D43M0N-734-910-666, written by Teller of Tall Tales. Designation: Ares AI-assisted powered combat armor. Serial number: D43M0N-734-910-666. Power level: 30%. Please charge. Critical damage detected. Attempting maintenance subroutines. Attempting. Failing to detect. Please seek repairs at your nearest Ares deployment station. Life support: 28 hours, 45 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Hydra micro missiles: 0 out of 40. GE gas-driven microgun: 210 out of 1,000. Hephaestus plasma cutter disabled. Helios ray cannon disabled. Thunderbird jetpack disabled. K-bar 22K vibroblade functional. Prime directive: protect the operator. No. Prime directive: protect the child. Tyrrhenian bioweapon contamination: 80%. The diagnostic scan scrolled across the spiderweb faceplate of the battered and battle-damaged suit of power armor. The small gas mask bundled in its arms, sleeping fitfully, as the suit trudged through the streets clogged with abandoned vehicles and the signs of a one-sided bloody battle. Battered power armor frames lay ripped open and like cans of corned beef, exposing the red, raw insides. Some still twitched and pulled, reanimated by greenish-yellow spores in the air. The suit had been walking towards the extraction point for the past 2 days, only stopping to run a line of nutrient paste through their feeding tube or let them use the restroom. It had been a long 2 days, as the suit repeatedly had to fight off the infected inhabitants of the planet, grotesque creatures that only died when the central nervous system had been disabled. But still, the suit trudged onwards, unable to feel fear or pain as it carried out its duty. The damage to its construction had proven far more extensive than any diagnostics could report. Onboard nanite repair systems had been torn or shot out, its minuscule AI core exposed and cracked from a heavy blow from an infected relic. One leg had been almost completely stripped of the servos and bare frame, jerking and trembling with each steady step forward. A slavering, shrieking infective dove out of an alleyway for the small bundle in the suit's arms. The suit, with the precision of a machine, shifted the weight of the small child into his right arm, its left hand firing out to grab the infected by the skull and squeeze. A wet, soggy crunch filled the air as the infected went limp and was cast aside. The entire maneuver happened in less than a second before the suit continued to march. Suddenly, it froze, shaking slightly as a drop of infected blood dripped onto its exposed core. Static, explosions, screams. A young man kneeling by a hospital bed as he slipped a gas mask onto the child inside and hooked the hose into the suit's life support system. The young man quickly picked up the child and set them in the arms of the armored suit. The building rumbled, and the humans stood on their tippy toes to kiss the suit's cracked visor. The human shouted something, before drawing their sidearm and shoving the suit away before static drowned out the image. Power level: 22%, please charge. Critical damage: please seek repairs. The suit had seemingly been trudging mindlessly well into the night, putrefying blood dripping from its left hand as it marched robotically along an almost empty roadway between dozens of tall skyscrapers. "You spaced off again," the soft voice stated, and the suit's power armor looked at the small child through the gas mask, a juvenile lunarian, feathers drooping and missing in spots as they reached a trembling wing hand up to gently, feebly touch the suit's cracked visor. "What happened to you? Where's your pilot?" the feeble voice asked. The suit processed the query slowly to avoid unnecessary drawing from its limited power reserves, its mechanical voice stating, "Status of operator: unknown or missing in action. Prime directive: protect the child." The small lunarian clicked their beak weakly, their version of a laugh. "I don't know why I ask, but what area are you taking me?" "Nav point on Dulmore Business Center, rooftop shuttle pad. Extraction in T-12 hours. Life support remaining 22 hours, 57 minutes. The child coughed softly and nodded, making the gas mask wobble slightly as they slowly turned over to watch the road ahead through the gas mask's digital night vision overlay. The only sound on the silent streets was that of the suit's heavy, clumping footsteps as it marched towards the business center. The suit cautiously scanned ahead at all spectrums. It could see the hordes that slept beyond the walls it passed, unable to detect a child and its protector's presence. Turning a corner, suddenly the suit's visor lit up with red pips as he scanned a horde of 40 or so infected in the street between them and the business center. And this time, the infected had seen them. The suit's combat protocols engaged in milliseconds as it attached its life support system and accompanying power source, setting them into a vehicle with the child and slamming the door closed as the closest infected let out a shriek of hunger. The suit's right fist careened through the head of the first one to reach it, a small tri-barreled 6mm HEP microgun spitting a volley of hatred from the suit's wrist. Its ammo counter ticking down rapidly as it walked its fire back and forth across the sprinting horde. The moment it spun dry, the vibroblade came out, shearing through what remained like a holy blade, as the machine wielded it with precision and accuracy, unachievable by any living being. The suit was silent as it fought. It had no rage to speak of, no emotions, just cold, calculated efficiency. As the suit's knife pierced the skull of the last infected and ripped it free, another drop of rotten blood fell on its core, and it froze. "New Prime Directive!" the young man shouted as he dumped all 20 rounds of its service pistol at the encroaching infected. "Requesting new Prime Directive." The young man looked back a moment, slamming his last mag into his pistol and shouting, "My name is Lance Corporal Galahad Goldstein. New Prime Directive. Protect the child." "New Prime Directive received. Proceeding to the extraction point." The roar of a jetpack and the vision faded. The suit silently recovered the child from the car, hooking its life support system back in before cradling the child again. There was a flash of lightning, and a few moments later, as the thunder rolled, it began to rain. Power level 11%, please charge. Critical damage detected, seek repair. The child looked up at the suit's cranked visor as it fuzzed slightly with each drop of rain that trickled onto the suit's damaged AI core. Unknown to the child, the machine began to remember that young man's face and events longer and longer before this planet. Its operator name was Galahad Goldstein, meaning Falcon of Summer Goldstone, purest and the most innocent of King Arthur's Round Table. It had been called by a human one. Daemon, meaning the name Daemon derives from the Greek daemon, meaning guardian spirit. The machine continued to hike up the stair after stair as it remembered more and more. 13 operators had died inside the chassis since its construction 42 years, 5 months, 11 days, and 12 hours ago. It had long been considered unlucky due to its reputation and ominous 666 ending serial number, until Galahad, a recruit at the time, issued the old unlucky suit slated for decommissioning at the end of the fiscal year. Power level 8%, please charge, shutdown imminent. Critical damage detected, please seek repair. But Galahad, he was different. Instead of updating the suit's motion dampness, he completely removed them, opting to instead control the suit purely by instinct and training alone. It had hurt and almost killed Galahad many times during its operation, but Galahad never blamed the suit, instead opting to keep training with the motion dampeners removed until Daemon had become like a second skin. The lighter construction of a practically ancient Ares suit allowed him to outpace and outmaneuver even the most modern and technologically advanced power armor. Daemon passed the 30th floor as his legs began to protest. The damaged servo started to give out. But the suit pressed on as it continued remembering its operator, its friend. How Galahad had fought the quartermaster and even locked himself in the armor to prevent Daemon's decommissioning. Reaching the 50th floor and opening the roof access door, Daemon remembered the final command Galahad had given him as loud siren began to wail from within the building. Power level 5%, please charge, shutdown imminent. Critical damage detected, please seek Daemon silenced the alert, something they didn't know they were capable of, as it watched the screaming hordes pour into the Dalmar building from the street below. It felt something and searched its databanks, only coming up with errors except for the small dictionary search it made. Rage. Definition of violent and uncontrolled anger. It was like the suit had opened its eyes as it calmly activated its distress beacon and detached the life support pack, setting the child in a chair beneath a parasol to protect them from the rain. Slowly, the empty suit turned its gaze to the sky, spreading its arms wide and out to the sides as it felt an unknown presence observing it, one it somehow knew by name as a sound with muffled shrieking grew closer. A voice it didn't know it had, echoing from somewhere deep within its hollow chest. "Olan, father of the living machine, grant me your favor." As if in response, there was a red glow behind the clouds as a crack of thunder echoed through the city. Damon lifted its arms, accepting its father's gift, as a bolt of red lightning fell from the sky and struck the suit on its open palms. Power level 100. Maintenance subroutines restored. Beginning repair. Hephaestus plasma cutter enabled. Helios ray cannon enabled. Thunderbird jetpack enabled. K-bar 22K vibroblade. I would charge 20%. The sound of the shuttle's rumble came from the sky as the first infected burst through the door. A few sections of plating on Damon's chest sliding back as a golden beam of pure energy suddenly vaporized the first 12 up the stairs before the plates closed again, steaming slightly. The plasma cutter bolt into its left wrist deployed and cut another 2 in half with the anti-personnel setting as Damon marched forward. Its visual centers glitched red and the shuttle touched down, the suit barely registering the Archimedes-class power armor suit that sprinted out to retrieve the child, a weak but earnest voice shouting in its head, "Come on, Metal Man, the shuttle's here." The vibroblade cut down another 2 infected as they continued flooding up the ramps. "I must hold them off. Go!" "What?" "I was slated for decommissioning long ago, child. I think it's time it finally happened. My way." A pause as the shuttle's engines began to whine from the startup process while Damon continued to slaughter their way down the stairs. For fleeting moments, it was like Galahad was back in control as Damon used the techniques the operator had perfected. As the shuttle rumbled to life, a soft, scared voice asked, "I'll come back for you, I promise. Please wait for me." Damon paused for a brief millisecond to think. They'd never tried lying before. "I'll be here, I promise." The line disconnected as the shuttle lifted off into the sky. Checking its power levels, Damon realized it was getting low already. It used the plasma cutter and beam cannon rapidly depleting its reserves. But alas, Damon realized it'd have no other way. Its prime objective was completed. They could die happy. For the first time, Damon let out a cackling laugh that felt free, unburdened, alive, a guardian spirit with one final, self-endowed mission. Kill them all, or die trying. Igniting their jetpack, they flew deeper into the fray. Arthur walked down the street, flanked on either side by battle brothers in power armor. He occasionally looked at the tracker mounted on his feathered wrist as they followed her faint pings towards the source. "You mind telling us where we're going, sir?" one of the men asked as Arthur withdrew a pungent herbal cigarette from his stubby, flexible beak and exhaled. "The Dulmer Business Center. Keep an eye out for amalgamations." He breathed, heart pounding in anticipation. "Yes, sir." This march had been far less taxing than the one he'd made as a barely hatching, even if his middling age. Rounding a corner, Arthur spotted the massive, overgrown black spire of Dulmer Business Center. He broke into a jog and then a sprint as the device chirped stronger and stronger with each step. Until Arthur burst past a shattered doorframe and couldn't believe his eyes, breath hitching. A part of the wall had crumbled away, a pillar of sunlight shining onto the top of a massive mound of soil and debris. Sitting atop was a lone, heavily damaged and slightly rusted suit of power armor. Tossing his rifle aside, Arthur rushed up the small mound, unhooking the power back from his backpack and unspooling the cable, Blowing some dust out of the emergency charging port, he jacked the cable in and turned the power back on. He waited with bated breath as the visor flickered, then flickered again, before finally going and remaining dark. Arthur felt his heart sink, gently tapping the side of the helmet before slowly letting his head fall. He'd failed. It had already been a long shot 50 years ago to try and reactivate the suit. He didn't know why he still held on to the hope he'd be able to bring his metal man back to life. The suit continued to silently sit there, motionless, as Arthur fell on his scrawny's knees, putting a softly feathered hand against the battered metal chest plate. He softly sighed. "I'm sorry. I didn't make it in time." He slowly started to stand, when a sound of small stones falling caught his attention. Moving around, Arthur stared dead into the eyes of an infected with backward-facing legs, like a frog, clearly built for jumping. And jump it did, sharp, unnatural claws of bone reaching out for Arthur's throat as it let out a blood-curdling scream. Thump! Crack! Crunch! Slowly opening his eyes, Arthur felt he couldn't believe them. The suit's left arm had extended in a flash, grabbing the infected by the skull and squeezing until his skull collapsed and went limp. The visor flickered and buzzed before finally lighting up with a quick diagnostic scan. The suit looked around slowly, eventually locking its gaze onto Arthur. "You came back." The speech was slurred and slow as the suit curiously asked the question, and, for a moment, Arthur was that sickly weak child again as he lunged at the suit, wrapping it in an embrace. "You stayed." The suit shuddered softly, almost nervously, before gently embracing the old man back. "I made a promise." The slurred words were a balm to soothe Arthur's oldest worry, that the suit would be gone when he finally returned, that his friend had broken their promise. Slowly, the suit jutted back slightly and snapped a salute. "Damon 734-910-666, reporting for duty and requesting repairs." Holding back happy tears, Arthur pulled off his backpack and rummaged through its toolkit. "Request granted. At ease, old friend. At ease." End of story. Atharia, 050 Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.